Hey ladies, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be doing a long inspo set. By inspo set, I just mean she came to her appointment wanting a certain set. She showed me a picture of an idea she had and we just kind of took off with it. So yeah, before I get into the tutorial, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've been watching my previous videos, then you've heard me talk about how I'm doing a subscriber giveaway. So once I reach 500 subscribers, I am going to be doing a nail kit giveaway. It's going to be a really nice kit, really big kit, in hopes to maybe help a nail tech or an inspiring nail tech, beginner nail tech, whatever the case may be. So definitely make sure to hit the bell to get post notifications about when I post. That way you don't miss out on that announcement and when I am going to start, letting you guys know what all needs to happen and how to enter that giveaway. So anyways, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and hop into this tutorial. So as you can see in the beginning of the video, I just kind of gave her, cut her nails down a little bit, just kind of filed them up, shaped them, got them like, I guess a little mini manicure, just got them ready for the tips and the acrylic application. So of course, I always go in with my cone drill bit and go around the cuticles to expose the whole nail and get all of the dead skin cells, all of the dead nail, anything of that sort up and out of there. And then I always go back over that with my sanding band. I believe that one was a 180 grit sanding band, sorry. And you just want to slightly go over the natural nail. That is very important because it helps eliminate lifting and it helps increase your retention rate. So you don't want to apply too much pressure. You just want to simply lightly go over the natural nail. This eliminates the natural oils that your nails produce. And normally, if you don't do that, not normally, but always, if you don't get rid of those natural oils, it will definitely cause lifting because the acrylic is not able to adhere how it should. So yeah, after doing that, I went ahead and applied the nail tips, cut them to the length that she wanted, and now we are filing. So she wanted to keep the nice tapered square look. So there wasn't really much for me to do besides the typical filing that I always, explain in my videos for the square shape. If you're a returning viewer, then you know what I'm talking about. And if not, then you're about to find out now. So for the square shape, like I said, these were square tips. I can't remember the brand. So if you want to know, just leave me a comment and I will definitely get that information for you. But for the square shape, you just want to file the sides at a 90-degree angle, straight up and down. And that will give you the nice clean side walls. And then you also want to file the free edge at a 90-degree angle, straight up and down. And also, as you've seen me do, you do want to turn your client's hand into different positions, looking at it from different angles, so you can make sure that all of the nails are even and everything looks how it should from more than just one point of view. If you do any art for that matter, you know that once you look at something for so long, it can sometimes start to look the same. So it is important to move your client's hands around, not even just for filing but for a lot of the different steps, so you can just make sure that they really are truly good, whether it's shaped or filing or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that it looks good from every angle and not just one. So now I'm going in with that same sanding band, and this is a really important step also. This is blending the tips with the natural nail. So you just want to slightly briefly go over where the natural nail and the nail tip meet. So blending this will also help with retention and help eliminate lifting. I also like to go over the nail tip with the sanding band as well because it helps the acrylic adhere better. So I definitely recommend that. It's an optional step, but I definitely have seen an improvement with that since I've done that step. So now I'm going in with my Mia Secret dehydrator, and this is just getting rid of those natural oils one last time, just in case there was anything left over. And then I'm going back over top with my Young Nails Protein Bond, and this is what helps the acrylic adhere and just overall help the foundation of the nails. So I'm going to explain each nail, I guess design by design, or maybe I said that backwards. Explain each design nail by nail. Yeah, that makes more sense. So this nail is just going to be a typical ombre. So we're doing white and nude. With all my ombres, I do like to start off with obviously the first color. I try to typically do about maybe 2 beads depending on the consistency of the acrylic, but in this case it's white, and if you have worked with white before, you know that it is one of the hardest colors to work with. So definitely use accordingly, I guess I should say, especially with white. But I believe here I used maybe 2 or 3 beads. Another thing that I wanted to mention that goes along with how many beads you need to use is if you're doing like, typically ombre is like half and half, but sometimes people like to do just most of the nail one color and slightly a little bit of nude or whatever the mixing color is that you're using. But in this case, we're just doing, like I said, a typical ombre. So what I like to do is take the acrylic of my first color up to right about where the natural nail and the nail tip meet. I do like to sometimes push it up just a little bit more than that, just so when I do apply the second color and do the ombre, it will, I guess, be able to mix more rather than literally do half and half of the acrylic, if that makes sense. So I like to do that, and I have noticed, maybe this is just me, but I have noticed that when I am doing ombre, when I do the first color, let it dry for just, I go and do another nail and then I come back to it. So I guess maybe about 5-10 seconds, I don't know. But when I let it, I guess, dry and then come back and do the second color, it definitely blends better. Maybe it's just me. If you guys feel like you agree, comment down below. But I definitely feel like it helps a lot as far as blending goes. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, so if you want to do it that way, definitely do it that way. So with this nail, we are going to be doing like a half nude, half white French tip type of vibe. You'll definitely see in the end, of course, but we're just kind of like cutting out some of the nail, mostly the bottom, which is going to be white, and then we're going to be doing like our designs and stuff. But as far as acrylic goes, that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm just taking my X-Acto knife. I literally got this off of Amazon, nothing special, literally just an X-Acto knife, and I am just cutting the acrylic away to separate where I want to do the white and where I want the nude to end. So the X-Acto knife is super it makes this step super easy. You do want to do it while the acrylic is still, I guess, more wet rather than dry. As you can see, I just placed my bead and then I cut it, and then I went back to finish off the nail. You do not have to finish your acrylic prior to cutting, and I say that because, as you can see, it was already starting to dry when I went to cut it. And so if you let your acrylic dry all the way, that's practically going to be impossible to do anything with the X-Acto knife. So you do want to do it, or use it, I guess, while the acrylic is still wet. So I just went ahead and cut it, and then I went back in and filled in the rest of the nude part, and I'm going to come back in with the white later on. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that step. Just remember to do it when it's, not, obviously not runny wet, but not dry, nowhere near dry. So this nail is going to be, just as far as acrylic anyways, it's just going to be a plain nude nail. We're going to do some nice little pixie crystals on it, but that of course you won't see until the end, well, towards the end, I guess I should say. So here we're just going to be building it up with the acrylic. You guys know that I always say typically 3 or 4 beads, but that does vary depending on the length and the shape and the design. So I believe I used maybe 4 or 5 beads on this nail, but just because the base is normally 3 or 4 beads does not mean that's all you have to use. It's just something that you want to, like, you can keep in mind and try to go by. But always, you would rather have a good built up nail rather than, a flimsy nail just because you feel like you already reached your fourth bead, you know what I mean? So definitely, play it by the set and what you think you need. As you can see, I'm already on my fourth bead and I still have some nail left, so I'm definitely going to be going for 5. And after building up your nail, always go back and look and see if you need any acrylic anywhere else, and if so, add it. It's always easier to add than take away. So that's something I like to tell people to keep in mind. But as you see, I just worked my way up from the bottom up to the cuticle, and you don't want to use super big beads, but you don't want to use small ones either. I like to use a medium size because it normally gives me just enough as far as thickness and everything to build up that nail. And of course, when you get to the cuticle bead, guys, as you've seen, I did not place it right on the cuticle. I placed it a little bit below, because when you feather your acrylic down, by the way, keep that in mind, you do not want to drag your acrylic. I know that sounds like, well, how else do I get it down? It does take some practice, but you will get it. You do not want to drag your acrylic down. You just want to feather it, lightly pat it. So as I was saying, when you get close to the cuticle, you do not want to place it right on the cuticle because it will flood and cause lifting. So you want to place it just a little bit below, because as you pat it and feather it down, it will push up just a little, and then it'll leave off, right where you need it to. So now I'm going back to that ombre nail, and I'm just going in with that same nude. Now I like to place the bead right above where the first color left off. You do not want the bead to be super runny at all, because then it won't properly mix, at least in my opinion. I don't think it does. And of course, if it's too dry, it just won't do anything at all. So you want to have like a medium, type of bead as far as the wetness of it goes. And with ombre, I know I just told you not to drag it, but with ombre, I have found it best to, I guess I should say maybe pull, because I don't want you to drag, but maybe, you do have to apply just a little bit more pressure to actually get it to mix into ombre. But you just want to keep that in mind when you're pulling that down, that you do not want to, do it too much, because you don't want that acrylic just come right off on your brush, but just do it enough to where it's actually going to mix. But as you can see, I only needed 2 beads there. You do not have to encapsulate your ombre. If you feel like you need a little bit more acrylic but don't want to use more of the colored acrylic, then definitely cap it. But if not, then you're good. And you also want to remember that the most important part of the nail is the apex. So that's where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. That's the most important part. 9 times out of 10, if a nail is going to break, it's going to break right there, because that is where the whole foundation of the nail is. If without that being glued on, you wouldn't have a nail, regardless of how much acrylic you put on there. So you want to, you do have it holding on by the glue, but you also want to make sure that you have a nice foundation, a nice apex right there in that area to prevent, to give it extra strength to keep that from breaking. So as you can see, I just kind of went back in with the file and cleaned up that nice cut. That way when I go in with the white, it'll be super clean and super easy to just fill in. I guess you don't really have to, but I think it's easier to work smarter than harder. It'll be a lot cleaner and a lot easier to just apply the white, get in and get out. So this nail is just going to be another one of the nude / white V-cut type. I don't really know what to call them, because we did them all kind of different, but they all, in the same sense had the same design. So I'm just going in with the nude up until the point where I don't need to anymore. So I guess I should better explain that. So I just went up enough with the nude to where the white was going to stop at. That way I can go ahead and cut it, but still have the rest of the acrylic down, if that makes sense. So I feel like if I would have did the whole entire finger first and then tried to cut it, I think the bottom part of the acrylic would have already been too dry. So I just built it up to where the white was going to stop at, and then I just went ahead and cut it same exact way. As you can see, the acrylic here was a little more wet than when it was on the first nail that we did this on, and it literally cut and I was able to swipe it right off, super clean, super nice. So I'm going to come back to that and fill that in with white when I do the other nail as well. So this one is going to be another ombre nail. So we're going to do the same steps here, building the white up just until a little bit past where the natural nail and the nail tip come together. One thing I do want to say is, as you guys can see, I'm constantly wiping the sides of the nail, the free edge of the nail, and going around the cuticle. That's something that you will see me do 1,001 times in this video and all my videos, because as you can see, I like to work smarter rather than harder, and I keep telling you guys that. So it really does play a difference. If you're throughout the whole set from start to finish, if you're staying neat, you're staying clean, it really does cut out a lot of time. Now, you don't want to be a nail tech that just rushes through everything, but you don't want to be a nail tech that takes all day either, because that will hinder you getting in more clients, which is more money. So you do just want to kind of keep that in mind, and take some tips in to maybe help you work a little faster. So cleaning up the cuticles, not only does that help keep things clean, but it helps, just prevent any acrylic flooding over just in case. And then cleaning up the sides of the nail just helps you keep that nice clean shape that you created when applying the tips. So why not just do that? That way, when we do go to clean up the shape, that's literally all it is cleaning up the shape, not reshaping the nails. So here I'm going back in with that white acrylic, and as you can see, it was a nice clean cut, so it really isn't much to keep the white in the area that it needs to be. And honestly, if you guys are familiar with French tip, like acrylic French tip nails, then you can kind of treat this the same way. If the white was to get on the nude, when you go to file it with your e-file later on, you could just clean that up there. So don't panic. If you're not familiar with acrylic French tip, I do have a video up. Feel free to go watch a few and just see what I mean by filing it off with the file. But even if you're not, you can simply just take your brush and kind of swipe it, as you can see I'm doing now, just kind of cleaning it up a little bit if you don't know what I am referring to when I say cleaning it up with the file. So just a super easy, super simple step right there. I'm going in with this nail, same thing, just kind of dragging the white through the space that it needs to be, making sure that I keep the sides nice and clean, kind of going in with my brush and just getting the white off of the nude. Like I said, it's no big deal if it does get on there, because even if you don't use the file, like I said, you can just get your brush a little wet and just simply clean it, wipe it off, whatever you want to call it, and you'll be good to go. So I am keeping this nice and clean, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish this hand off by finishing the ombre. So as I said, place that bead right above where the acrylic left off and slightly drag that down. Normally, I'm going to say this again, normally you do not drag acrylic, you just like to feather it and pat it down. That way you're not pulling off more than what you need to. But for ombre, it is just slightly different, because you do want to make sure that you're getting a good mix. So you do want to apply just a little pressure, especially since you're coming back to that acrylic that has already kind of dried. But like I said, in my opinion, I feel like when you let the first acrylic kind of set, it blends better. I could be wrong, but like I said, comment down below if you agree. I definitely think it has helped me. Ombre was something that I struggled with so much, you guys. Like, it took me forever to come up with that little technique. And then one time I was just doing the ombre and I actually forgot to go back and do the other color. So then I did, and I'm like, wow, that actually worked way better. Maybe, I don't know if it was just that nail or if it was like the technique. So I tried it again, and I just, have used it ever since. So now I am just checking the nails, making sure they're nice and sturdy, nice and good to go. So now I'm just going to go back in and clean up that shape. As you can see, I was super clean throughout the application process, so I'm not really going to have much filing to do. I'm just going to go back through and clean up that shape. So same thing as I mentioned before, you're just going to be filing the sides at a 90-degree angle, and making sure that you're pulling back your client's skin, because especially if you use a sharper file. For me, for instance, I use a 80 grit. That's just about as sharp as it gets, and one wrong move and it will slice right through your client's skin. So you want to make sure that you're pulling their skin back, because even if the file isn't that sharp, it's just uncomfortable to feel that, it will still tear through your client's skin. So that's just something to remember. A lot of people don't, because they feel like, you know, the file is on the nail and that's all that matters. But don't forget about that skin that's so close to the file. It can make or break, a cut. So as you can see, I'm just kind of flying through this. I didn't really have much to go back through and fix, due to me staying, nice and neat throughout the application process. So it makes it, like I said, it does make it a lot easier and cuts out a lot of time. So just going in on the sides, 90-degree angle, and then definitely getting underneath the nails, because sometimes, you do have that nail tip or some acrylic under there that you do want to make sure it's nice and clean, because from the top, when you can't see it, it looks good, but definitely on the sides, when you look at the sides of the bottom of the nail and you see that, it does make a difference. It just looks so much cleaner and nicer when you get the sides of the nail, well, the underneath the sides, I guess I should say. And definitely filing at a 90-degree angle on the free edge to give you that nice clean square shape. So now I'm going in with that same sanding band. Some people don't use a sanding band, but I have always used it when filing, and it just works way better for me. Plus, it kind of eliminates the chance of you cutting your client's skin, which I've always been afraid of. No matter how good I am at nails, I'm not scared to admit it. So anyways, I'm just going in and I'm going to be sealing the cuticles and smoothing out the acrylic. As you can see on this nail, I am kind of like working mostly around the area where the acrylics met, and that's just to clean up any white that may have gotten on the nude, and just making sure that they're both even and at the same same height, I guess I should say. You don't want any lumps and bumps in your nails at all, because clear coat or not, you're going to be able to see them, and those are not pretty at all. So you just want to, go around the cuticles, that's sealing them, like I said, and that will help prevent lifting. And when the new growth comes in, the acrylic will be right where it should, so you can go ahead and do that fill if needed. And you do want to go, from top to bottom, left to right on the whole entire nail, just to make sure that it's all smooth, all nice and ready to go for any design, nice and even. And you want to you don't have to move slow necessarily, but you do want to take your time, because sometimes moving too fast, especially when using these e-files, it is easy to go from having a nice smooth nail to putting your own lump or bump in there. So you just want to kind of take your time, that way you don't accidentally do that. So now I'm just going in with my buffer, and this just eliminates anything that may have gotten on there from using that sanding band, any scratches, anything like that. Makes it gets rid of those and makes it nice and smooth and ready for any design. So like I mentioned earlier, this is going to be like a pixie crystal type of nail. So I'm just going in with my Macart nail rhinestone glue. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said nail. Rhinestone glue. And I'm taking this old art brush that I got in a pack of brushes from Amazon, and I just kind of smoothed it out, because with this rhinestone glue, it's super thick, and however you put it on is how it's going to dry. So I don't want it to be all lumpy or anything like that. So I always like to smooth it out, that way when it does dry, it's drying evenly. She wanted to do like a few stones and then the pixie crystals. So I went ahead and placed the stones first, and then I poured the pixie crystals around so they can just set where they need to be. And then I always like to tap the nail to get any excess off, and I go back in with that same brush. I do dip in acetone to clean it off, but I just go back around the cuticle and around the nail, and straighten them up, push the pixie crystals to where they need to be, making sure that I am keeping that nice square shape. And with the acetone being on there, it does help clean off any glue that may seep over. so that's good also. But yeah, you just want to make sure with them pixie crystals, with them being so 3D, you do want to make sure that you're going back and cleaning up around the cuticle and the whole entire nail. That way it keeps the shape and it doesn't, get all wonky looking. So on this nail, we're going to be doing, over the white part, we're going to be doing the croc print. Now, my hand was kind of blocking it. I do have other videos up of this. If you weren't able to see this too well, definitely go check those out. But it's a super simple step. So you're just going to get whatever polish you want to use for the croc print, and I'm using an old dotting tool, and I'm literally just putting a little left to right dot on the white, and then I'm going back over it while it's still wet with clear acrylic powder, dusting off the excess. And you do want to be careful because, like I said, the polish is still wet, so until you cure it, it's gonna still have the risk of smidging. So you just want to be careful with that. But as you can see, I literally just got a dot of white and kind of drug it from left to right to give it more of a length than just a dot. And I pour that clear acrylic powder all over it. Let it cure for 60 seconds, and when it comes out, you can definitely dust it off, and you'll have the nice croc print, as people like to call it, snake print, croc print, whichever you go by. So this design that we're doing right now is just going to be, I'm going in with some silver glitter gel polish. It's from Madame Glam, but I cannot remember the exact name, but I can find it if you'd like. So we're just going to be pouring some raw glitter over top. And anytime I do raw glitter, I always put whatever color glitter we're doing, I use that same polish underneath as like a base for it to stick to. It just looks way better and it adds more. And of course, anything that you would use other than that, you would probably see. So I do just like to do that. And then I do let that cure. You pour the glitter over while the polish is still wet, and then let that cure for 60 seconds. And when that comes out, you can also dust off the excess. That way you only have glitter where the polish was, if that is a better way of putting it. So now I'm going in with that same Macart rhinestone glue, and I just kind of drug and did like a nice little line of where I wanted the stones to be. And then I'm going in with the dotting tool, and I do like to just tap the dotting tool on the rhinestone glue just a little bit, because it does help pick up the rhinestones like literally so easy. So I'm just doing that, and I'm going back in and placing them right over that line that I just drew with that rhinestone glue. And then I'm going to let that cure for 60 seconds. I already did the other finger, but I forgot to film it. And this is the final result. They turned out exactly like the picture. She was so happy with these, and of course I'm so happy with these. I love these so much. They're so blingy and so glammy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, and go follow me on all of my social medias, and turn that bell on for the next video. Let's get the 500 subscribers so somebody can win this nail kit, you guys. Until next time.